Violet McGraw has now been in two separate movies or TV shows that have a red room. Just found that interesting. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today our movie in the middle is Black Widow. Black Widow stars Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, and Rachel Weisz, and is a solo movie about Natasha Romanoff that takes place directly after the events of Captain America: Civil War. It finally came out. We have been waiting for like, what, a year and a half now? And it just didn't seem like this movie was ever coming out. And honestly, I was starting to lose a little bit of interest, which is weird because it's an MCU movie and the first one we've had in 2 years. 2 years. But it just kept being like, okay, it's going to come out. We've pushed it back. Now it's only coming out on Disney Plus. I'm just glad it's out, and I'm glad it's in theaters, and I'm glad I saw it. Like I said, I was actually at first kind of disinterested in it, for mostly because of it being delayed, but also for the fact that I felt like this movie should have come out in phase 1 or 2. Why are we doing a Black Widow movie now? For many reasons that I won't necessarily get into just yet because I don't want to do any spoilers, but like if you haven't seen Endgame by now, you should. For many reasons it felt like this movie should have come out earlier. However, I will say it was very fun and very funny, as Marvel usually is. They did actually a really good job with the movie. Black Widow has always been that hero that was the glue of the Avengers, and yeah, she never really had her own movie or any of her own really specific things, but she was always in everyone else's movies. She was always kind of the playing both sides of it and trying to help bring everybody together. Finally having her own solo movie was really great because we could actually see a little bit more of her depth and of her background. And Scarlett Johansson once again did a really good job with this. I'm really happy that it didn't like make her character different, and it didn't like do too much of her character to the point where it was like, okay, you're not even the person that we knew from the Avengers movies. You're something different. We got all of the little bits of context and flashback and everything that we got from like Age of Ultron in her own perspective and with other family members and other just parts of her life coming back to haunt her. And as much as I'm not a huge fan of Scarlett Johansson, I will say she did a great job once again blending that humor and that lightheartedness and that heart that the character has for her family, her families, I guess, that we see in this one, with the seriousness and the we got to get down to business and I'm an assassin. But honestly, guys, like Scarlett Johansson was amazing as always, but Florence fucking Pugh, I love her so much. She was so great in this, playing Natasha's sister. She was hilarious. She was badass. She was not taking any shit. She just went for it. And she was just like an incredible character of playing her little sister who grew up not realizing that there was bad shit going on in her family. And then basically like next time we see her, she's like one of the Black Widows and she's a trained assassin now. And it's like she's really grown up, but she still has that funny sister humor. She was so great. I love Florence Pugh. Every single thing I see her in, she just gets better and better. And like, is it me or like is she like the only person that like still looks good frowning? Is that just me? David Harbour also did an amazing job. It was really great to see a divergence from his character in Stranger Things, which is really the only thing I've seen him in so far, where he plays this gritty cop, Hopper. There he's a lot more angry a lot of the times. Here he's like a lot more carefree. He still has a lot of heart and a lot of, like seriousness when it comes to relationships he has. He just wants to be this superhero again. And I won't get into too much about what his superhero is, or for that matter, what Rachel Weisz his character even is. He just wants to get back to his good old days, kind of like Mr. Incredible, in The Incredibles. And he's super funny the way that he does it, the way he talks about Natasha and Elena, and the way that he's like almost kind of immature about stuff too. He was just superbly funny. I was really happy he was in this movie and that he again kind of had that difference from like Hopper in Stranger Things. And Rachel Weisz also did an amazing job. She has a little bit like less of a character in this. She was still pretty good. It wasn't like anything to write home about, but she still was a great character to round out this family in the movie. One other character I want to talk about who was really interesting, I wish we'd seen even more of them, and gave this movie more of a purpose to be now rather than like say phase 2, is Taskmaster. Taskmaster is super cool because they are able to basically mimic other people's, if they watch somebody's fighting, they can mimic exactly how they do that. So they even say in the movie it's like fighting a mirror, and it's super hard because they use all of your moves against you. And it's really cool because not only does Taskmaster use everyone else's moves against them, but other weapons, other things in the suit, things that they throw and use, and I don't want to get too specific about it, but it's very reminiscent of things from before, specifically Civil War, because it takes place right afterwards. So it was really cool because once I learned, oh, that's what they're doing with this character, it was super cool to keep looking out for those things. But in terms of things besides the characters, the plot was really great because not only was it just a really engaging plot, but it also had to involve all of Natasha's backstory. I obviously won't give away anything of what it's about, but I will say we finally learn what happened in Budapest. Kind of. It doesn't go too much into it, which I like. It doesn't like make it front and center, but it's very core to the plot and what they need to do and the goal they're trying to reach. And of course, the subplots here are also, her getting back with her family, and there's things I can't talk about with the family, that like secrets and things like that, so I won't bring those up. But the dynamic that they all had, all between each other, like every single one of them, all combinations, they were all really great. They were pretty fleshed out, and they were very entertaining once they were all together. Even just some of the pairs of them, they were very funny and very heartfelt. I will say too, the fighting in this was probably some of the most intense fighting I've seen in an MCU movie, and that's saying a lot. I don't know if it was just because I was in a Dolby theater, so like the sound, like moves, as they say there. Every single hit, especially a fight early on in the movie, was like, God, it's just vicious. Like you're really going at it. Like it was like someone's got to be hurt. How do you not have a migraine after just doing that one thing, much less this whole fight? But for my lows, I really only have one main one. And again, I can't be too specific about it and why, but it just has to do with the family dynamic. Again, there's secrets there, and at first, it was kind of confusing what their setup was and who they were. Again, that might not be necessarily a bad thing. It just might be me. This has been another episode of That's Not a Low, Matt's Just Confused. The only thing is because of these secrets and because of who everybody is here and how they relate to each other, there were some motivations or decisions that were made or conversations that were had that I was a little confused about, because it seemed like they were in two different directions. Like sometimes they were like, we're focused on this and this is my priority. And then sometimes it was like, this is my priority and I actually do care. And it just felt like the writers weren't quite clear on what they wanted this family to be. And again, I can't get too much into it. It just, there were motivational things, how they acted with each other, how they talked about their past, sometimes was a little conflicting with each other for me, just because they had two sort of separate storylines going on there. I was also a little surprised that we do get a lot of flashbacks from Natasha's point of view and her past, but there weren't really any for her in her training, which wasn't really that relevant anyway, and I guess we did get a lot of it in Ultron, so it really wasn't that necessary. I was just kind of surprised that there wasn't more of that in there. Overall, Black Widow was very fun, very funny. It definitely surprised me because I didn't think it was going to be that interesting. I didn't think it was going to be even that necessary of a movie now, and it felt kind of too little too late. But it was still really entertaining. It actually was really, I was in it the whole time. They had really cool little references to Civil War and even like a tiny little subplot to Civil War. I really enjoyed it, and even though I thought maybe this should have come sooner, there were a lot of things that they were able to do now that it took place later in the timeline. I'm going to give Black Widow a 3.5 out of 4. Let me know what you thought of Black Widow. Did you think it should have come before now? Do you think that it doesn't really matter because, I mean, they were able to do some stuff with it? What are your guys' thoughts? Also, what are your thoughts on the opening credits, because we normally don't have those, and the end credits scene? I don't know how I feel about it. I've heard a lot of things talking about how there was something in the end credit scene, obviously if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, that was happening and then it got ruined. And personally, the character that comes in the end credit scene, I hate. She annoys the crap out of me. So I'm not gonna put that with the movie as a low or anything, but I'm not loving it. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and movies right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.